Hear the shouts of liberty, equal rights and equity, dignity and honor. Oh, my God, that will never stop.
We rise for truth and justice.
The voice of
Lord, and not the
Good afternoon and welcome to House of Justice. My name is Gloria Balasin, your legal diva. On House of Justice today, we look at a trending issue in our country, Nigeria. We're just emerging from a lockdown and we have the fuel price hike, which has moved up from 87 naira as we used to know it to 161. And the electricity tariff has also gone up astronomically. The government is still placing huge tax burdens on individuals and companies, and it's such a moment where people are trying to survive. Is this the global trend, or are we dealing with a situation that could be better? On House of Justice today, we take on the topic fuel hike and implications for Nigeria. And right here in the studio with me is Mr. Joknom Bello Shamaki. Mr. Shamaki is a serial entrepreneur and professional. He is a journalist and chairman Newsreel. He's also the MD and the CEO of JB Shams Nigeria Limited. Shamaki is a former depot coordinator of IPMAN, the Independent Petroleum Marketer Association of Nigeria. And he was also a former director personnel of Dadu Oils Limited. Good to have you in House of Justice, Mr. Shamaki. Here with me also in the studio is Mr. Bomba Dauda. Mr. Dauda is a public affairs analyst, a journalist, publisher of Guerrera Accord, a proponent of fundamental rights, and he is the associate editor, Kaduna Frontier magazine. It's good to have you in House of Justice.
Happy to have me.
And we will be joined very shortly by the National Secretary of the Independent Petroleum Marketers of Nigeria, IPMAN, and that's talking about Alhaji Danladi Garba Pasali. Alhaji Pasali will be joining us via Zoom this afternoon as we take on this conversation. So we'll try to see how this goes as he connects with us on Zoom, and we take it up from there. At the moment, I am back here in the studio where I will be beginning this conversation with Mr. Shamaki and Mr. Bomba, respectively. Shamaki, from 87 naira at the last dispensation to 161 naira, and we have the electricity tariff going up high, we have taxes. How did we get here?
I would prefer to really talk much on the petroleum sector.
Yeah.
Though the electricity tariff affects everybody and we are all in it.
Yeah.
But I'm most specialized in petroleum sector.
Okay.
Before it gets to the final consumer, these products undergo series of processes, and what the consumer get to buy, which is known as the pump price, is a accumulation of so many processes and expenses and eventual landing costs, and then the margin that becomes what is known as the pump price. We have the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream. But majorly, the consumers are more involved in the downstream sector because it involves the production and retailing, marketing of the product, and the retailing of it by retailers. So these processes, at some point, get to be interfered one way or the other. And that interference is what is known as subsidy. The subsidy that we enjoy from the government. The processes involved the product are being sourced. When I mean so, I'm using a layman language now.
Yeah.
That is when the crude oil is tapped or rigged, it is being taken to where it's been processed. Well, these are the refineries, and then to PPMC, and then to marketers, then to the final consumers. It's cost, how do I put it? It has a cost implication. And this cost implication somehow is not well managed, if I put it that way. We have different products that are being tapped out from crude oil. I'll mention a few. We have the AGO, that is what is commonly known as the diesel.
Okay.
We have PMS, that's petrol. We have DPK, which is kerosene and this jet fuel. We have LPFO, low pour fuel oil, and we have the HPFO, high pour fuel oil. These are just some few out of the things that have been tapped out from PMS. But the one that affects the common man directly is the AGO, the PMS, and the DPK. The cost of production and the various processes that it goes through cost money.
Okay.
And then when it gets to the final stage, because we are, unfortunately, an importing country, we have crude, we have the refineries, though they are not working, but we still import. In fact, at this point, I can tell you almost 100% of fuel that we consume in this country is being imported. The Kaduna State refinery has not worked for close, maybe 5 years. I don't think since this government came into power, they've worked. They introduced a process known as decanting just to make sure it works, but it didn't even work. The product was stolen. All these ones, I'm just giving you a background on how somehow some of the things are contributed to where we get here. It has to do a lot with corruption. Back to what we were discussing. What we are discussing. The previous government, starting from, in fact, all the governments have been subsidizing this product. At some point, sometimes they claim to be subsidizing, but there wasn't any reason to subsidize because these prices go down. Subsidy means when you get product from the processing to the landing cost, when it gets to, let's say, because we're talking about importation now,
Yeah.
it gets to either Lagos or wherever it's been taken to, the cost implication, the final stage, that's what they call landing cost.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, the product is being sold for 10 Naira, and probably the landing cost is 12 Naira, plus the margin, let's say 13 Naira. If a seller or a marketer brings that product at 13 Naira and the government is saying sell at 8 Naira, the government is going to balance that marketer the 5 Naira. That is a subsidy. So it's somehow, if it's being managed well, it's giving money directly to the poor people. You're saying, okay, you're going to use less to buy this product, we'll balance off for you. That is the simple definition of subsidy.
I'm sure a lot of people didn't know about this.
Yes.
They just hear the big words subsidy. So it's a good thing that you have broken it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And subsidy is not just on petroleum products. All over, even the big countries, the developed countries, they still do subsidies, not necessarily in the oil sector. Like, for instance, in the US, they subsidize agriculture. Maybe if you're supposed to buy, I'm just giving an instance, if you're supposed to buy a tractor for 6 million, they can make it easy for you. They pay for the balance, you buy for 5 million. And then they can give you even facility, because facilities too can be a way of subsidizing stuff. They give you the facility to get this thing. They can say, okay, take this tractor, use it, and be paying us gradually. And then it comes in different ways. If you're supposed to pay an interest of, let's say 10%, the government can work it down to single digits, and it has helped you. So these things are what we call subsidies, not only on the oil sector. So when the Buhari regime came, unfortunately, because I keep repeating unfortunately, because things kept going from bad to worse, they said they were going to remove this subsidy, though they said there was no subsidy earlier on. They said they were going to remove the subsidy, and they actually removed the subsidy, except for PMS, that's the petrol. Up to this moment that I speak to you, except for the new, whatever they are saying, the new price, we don't know if they will still, even at that, we don't know if it's still subsidized anyway. It used to be they pay what they call petroleum equalization funds. It's still part of the subsidy. The subsidy, this one is, let me put it, I'll categorize it now as the mini subsidy because it affects those at the downstream, the retailers, at the bottom end of the downstream, the retailers and the marketers now. But the main subsidy, people get it from the major importers of this product. They get the major subsidy. They get subsidy on product. They get subsidy on dollars. If you're buying dollar for $3.50, they get to buy dollar at the central bank with the approval of the government or NMPC. They get to buy maybe at 180. I'm just giving an instance. This figure is not what is obtained. If they're saying $3.50, they subsidize it by giving them dollar. Instead of buying dollar for $3.50, they buy a central bank for maybe 180 or 200, and then they go and buy this product because they're using Naira to buy. So they have to buy this dollar from the government and get to buy this thing. So when they came, they removed the subsidy on oil and diesel and DPK and every other product except PMS. So this product, we the marketers easily get blamed by the common man because we are the people that are having direct contact with them. But the marketer is somebody who is being told how to behave. In the sense that if I am coming to sell, for instance, petrol and they tell me the pump price is 5 Naira, I am going to go to Lagos. I am going to pay for loading fee, pay for the product, pay for transportation expenses, the risk. If I have money to do insurance, I do on transit insurance. If I don't have, I allow myself to take the risk. If whatever happens, your tire get busted, your whatever happens to the truck, you pay for all these things, you pay the driver and all that. And it's expected that before the regulation, it is expected that 9 Naira 10 kobo margin is supposed to cover for all these expenses. And then when you talk about
that's unrealistic.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. That was before the deregulation. So when you do that, you find out that some people, in order to stay in business, they would bring 33,000 liters, let's say 10,000 liters. Let me not give you, they could bring 10,000 liters. They drop 5,000 liters in the filling station to sell it at that price. And then they take the other 5,000 to black market so they could recoup their whatever. That is the situation that a marketer has found themselves. If you look at the way oil has been right before now, almost all the filling stations, even the tiny filling stations, peddlers, because we have peddlers, even in the chain we have peddlers. They are legal peddlers. They get their license from DPR because of the hinterlands, the villages that marketers may not have the reach. They are the ones that go with trucks and all that to go and distribute all this. So a marketer is expected to work within 9 Naira 10 kobo. But now, the mini subsidy that I categorize, that is the Petroleum Equalization Fund, is meant to take care of your transportation. It will reduce the burden of expenses now for you. It's meant to take care of your transportation. Then you will be able to take care of some other needs. But right now, as I speak to you, the government has taken that away. You have to go and source for your product, wherever you get it, however you get it, bring it and sell it at whatever price.
Yeah.
And now it is directly affecting the masses now. The government is not taking the hit. The only time that you see government taking the hit is because they announce that we have increased price. And then the will go and then it will go quiet. But you go to the station, you listen to Okada men, they insult the pump attendants because maybe they usually buy fuel for 200 naira that will take them from here to Kao. Now fuel of 200 naira may likely just take them from here to station. That is the direct hit on them. You've taken a lot of money out of their pocket.
And there's no value for that money.
At all.
Okay, let me head back to Bomba, who is here with us in the studio as we try to see if the secretary can connect with us. The feeling for most people on the street is that the Buhari government has failed to recognize the impact of this fuel hike. And it seems to be the case that every time there is an increase in the price of fuel, everything else responds to it. There is, of course, increase in transportation, increase in food stuff, and increase everywhere. How do you read this feeling and the pulse of Nigerians? Do you think that they are disconnected from the reality of what's happening in terms of the market structure?
Yeah. Petroleum and electricity, they are very, very important factor in every nation.
Okay.
In terms of whether you talk in terms of production, industrial production, small scale production of all kinds, even the running of offices and then businesses. Now, when you increase the cost of oil and then tariff on electricity simultaneously, it will impact seriously on economic activities. Number one, it will increase inflation. It will lead, because of lower economic activities, it will lead to unemployment. And then more people will get back into the poverty trap. Because it is only when the economy is being run efficiently that more and more businesses will not employ people to work for them. When they struggle, their capacity to employ is being lowered. Now, because people are not employed, then the tendency for people to get more and more poorer as a result of lower economic activities and unemployment level has risen. The more and more people will become poor. So I think the multiplier effect of the decision of the government, it will stay much, much longer than we expected. Because one, why we always look at oil is because Nigeria runs a monopolistic economy. The tendency is that when we face recession, when we face external shock, any kind of shock that Nigeria faces, the only alternative that we have is to walk around oil price as a way of trying to wriggle out of the economic quagmire. So I think the implication on the national economy and the implication on individuals is going to be very, very negative. Though we may say that because the government has increased tariff, the national economy will realize more revenue. Our revenue base is going to increase. But we have to look also the business side. As government is making more money, people are suffering more. Because let's be very honest, this country, we don't have fiscal management of our resources. We are not disciplined, we are not prudent in terms of managing resources.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, corruption also. So if you look at it, our institutions also are very, very weak. No matter the kind of amount of money that this country generates, there's no tendency or there's no full confidence that those money will now be plowed back into the economy. Let's say in terms of building more infrastructures, in terms of building healthcare services, in terms of building schools. So the tendency, whether government has more money, the tendency to plow it back into the economy in real terms is not there. So to me, it's counterproductive because the country was, even before the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, we had the issue of recession.
Yeah.
We didn't wriggle out of that situation. COVID-19 came. After COVID-19, we are still within this thing of the COVID-19, and then government decided to increase oil prices, and then...
And there was no palliative for COVID-19.
There is no palliative. Now, government is everything that has the government policies is supposed to be a balancing act. When they put pressure on the left-hand side of the cylinder, then they release pressure from the left side of the cylinder. But government cannot or should not be seen pumping more pressure from both sides. When the economy is not really working, you are now increasing inflation. So I think the negative impact on people's life is going to be very, very huge. Is it going to be very, very huge?
And by the way, for most businesses, they run on the alternative, which is running with the generators and what have you. Is there going to be a direct impact on businesses with this hike in
Of
in
course,
fuel
of
price?
course, of course. Why not? If you talk about production, from the sources of sourcing of raw materials, to the processing, to the transportation, distribution, to retail and distributors, it all depends on transportation and is driven by oil. So when there's an increase, it has a ripple effect across the production chain. So from the production to the consumer is going to pay. What is saying literally is that the ordinary Nigerians will pay for the government decision. The nation's continuous dependence on oil as a major source of revenue. Serious countries, when they face shocks, what they do, because they run a diversified economy, they look at other options rather than trying to look at the local economy as the only way to generate more and more income. So I think what is most significant in this country, instead of putting more pressure, I think the government would have gone through the policy of interventionist philosophy, where when you have shock, what you do is increase more spending into the economy, rather than trying to make the Nigerians to pay for the cost of even rebuilding the economy. I want to give an example. During Obama, when he came, when America was facing recession, when there was foreclosure, what Obama did not increase inflation or did not increase prices of commodities. What Obama did is that he increased more spending into the economy, built more infrastructures, reflood the economy. The same thing China did. China also increased spending on infrastructure. Because the ripple effect is this: when you subcontract or when you contract companies to build infrastructure, they subcontract. The tendency is that money will evolve around the economy, and it will have a ripple effect, which of course it will be able to help to ameliorate the suffering of the people. But I think the major mistake of the Buhari administration is that even though they played politics with subsidy during the Goodluck Jonathan, they are now facing the reality of the situation. What I'll blame the President Buhari government is this: Buhari never gave people appointment based on area of expertise. He gives appointment based on political allegiance. When you are faced with a situation like this, when you have experts to advise you on what to do, because they are experts, they know how to manage certain area of specific expertise, they will come up with the best option for you as a country. But where you have politicians, to start with, Buhari is the Minister for Petroleum himself. So how has he been able to revolutionize the sector since he became the president or the Minister for Petroleum? If there was an expert there and given a free hand to do that, probably would have come up with best option that would not really put more pressure on Nigerians.
Oh, well, that's quite an analysis. But back to Joknam, and in terms of dissecting further the realities of what happens in the petroleum sector, there are feelers that says where all of this is moving to is to have a situation where a liter is going to be, equals to $1, and that this is just a steady rise. But again, during the period of the the start of this pandemic, we had a situation where the government announced a reduction in fuel rates, and a lot of Nigerians were happy. How is this really working? Is this the government really trying to ameliorate, or is this some kind of mind games?
Honestly, I have to tell you something. It's unfortunate, and I'm sorry, but that is the reality. We have leaders that are very lazy. Lazy in the sense that they just believe everything is money, money, money. Like my brother just said, uh, when you have a situation at hand,
Yeah.
you try to make the best out of the situation.
Yeah.
By making the best out of the situation, I mean government and subsidy and the regulation. These things are things that are meant for us to either enjoy or generate revenue so we can get infrastructures and all that. Some of the things that are affecting our government is the people have lost trust. The people have trusted the government severally, and the government failed them in so many aspects. When you talk about government increasing prices and getting product to be maybe a liter to, well, let's be specific, PMS, that's petrol, a liter to $1. If people have the spending power, why would we have problems with buying product for 1 liter to $1 if that is what the market forces has brought forward as the prevailing price?
But I think also, Joknam, there is a fundamental concern: the rise in the dollar. It used to be 150. Now we are clocking almost 500, and yet salaries have not been increased. Demands are still there, and this is Nigeria, where a household could probably have about 10, 11, 12 people, depending on one person. And so if we move to a situation of 1 liter equals $1, how do you see that impacting on even the quality of life of Nigerians?
You see, the issue of naira falling and dollar rising, or price of this thing has a lot to do with both the government and the masses. Nigerians are not accepting what they really are. They are looking at, we have to live a very flamboyant kind of life. And if I buy an Abba shoe today, somebody will tell you it's Abba, he will laugh at you. Buying product from abroad, importing petroleum product, importing shoes, importing whatever, is us killing the naira. It's us killing the naira. Well, ours may be little because the masses, how much are they going to spend? But you buy petroleum product in tons and tons, and it's so kind of like disheartening to believe that our refineries cannot work today, and the government is waiting on Dangote to do refinery for product, to do fertilizer, refinery, and all that. And this is a government that has promised us every year they build refinery, whether this capacity is small or big, it doesn't matter. If we have had that, and then we have the product, and then we are refining. We're supposed to be servicing our region, in fact, the whole of Africa, and even some of these countries. And then by doing that, we will have more foreign exchange coming. Our foreign direct investment is gone. It's almost near nothing. Our foreign exchange, we change money in this country to go and buy a product. So how do you even intend to give the dollar, the naira, any strength? And then all these things I'm telling you, the poor masses, the less privileged that are having a direct hit on this, don't even know what we're talking about. They don't even know anything about this thing that they are saying. They don't even wear those foreign shoes. They don't wear all these things. It's still the elites that are doing this to them. What do? We have to change it. our habits too. Every Nigerian has a duty. A lot of us are corrupt. You might not be corrupt as a government official, but you might be aiding corruption one way or the other. And what do we do? You go to the pump today, somebody is telling you it's 162. You see it written 162, but the product is undersupplying. That's corruption. If it's
Even
supposed-
at 162,
Yes, you go
somebody
to-
will not be given the value of the 162.
Yes.
That's
yes.
double jeopardy.
Yes. Though some may give you excuse that their landing cost is not even 160, it's 162. And if they put it at more than 162, the DPR will come, or somebody will come and disturb them, or people will not even come to buy. But they have to be in business. But that is not an excuse. That is not an excuse. We have to work on our attitudes. We have some terrible people doing some terrible things in this country. But I still take it back to the leadership, because when you set rules and these rules have been stern and effectively implemented, then people will begin to take dressing. They will follow in the line. But when you know that I would do this thing, DPR will lock up this place, I'll call one big man there, or I'll go and give DPR money, and then they will, what would you be scared of? If you have to make money, millions of naira, and part with 200,000, what is wrong with that? So what I feel about what is going on, the government have to be serious about the policies they are making. There are some of the policies that are good. To be honest with you, there are some of the policies that are good. When Kachukwu came in, he realized that government is not really stealing much from people. You see, there are people who do importation of this product, who are kind of like agent of people who are in government, who are doing the real stealing. There was a time people were given this dollar. I think the Emir of Kano said something about that. People were given this dollar, go and buy product and import. They just went to BDC, changed the dollar. Probably they were given at 180, and then it was 360 there. They went, change, do the margin, return whatever they're supposed to return to NNPC. And then why would I go and bring product and make 500 million when all the risk, the whatever, when I can always just sell this dollar and then make 400 million without any risk, without anything, just sitting down in my house? Why? So it's easy money. So, but the government, okay, like Kachukwu, when he came in, he realized some of these people that were put there, I think by Desani and some of our people, were not even doing it. They were just taking money. Some people are being prosecuted on that. He now reduced them to some certain number of people. But because they didn't bring in people who are knowledgeable about this thing, who advise them on what to do, when you are taking these kind of decisions, they are tough decisions. You need to educate the people and tell them the truth. We are going to take this decision. There are a certain set of people who are very powerful in the society. If we take this decision, it will affect them. And if they sneeze, we're going to have some kind of like pains, but these pains will not last forever. These pains are what we are paying to break that jinx that these people have created that are having a hold on us. And then people now understand your mission. By the time they start seeing queue, because these people, it's not government that bring queues. If you touch these people or you touch the subsidy, they lie to you that they are paying so much to bring this product when whatever they are paying probably is half of what they are paying. And then government will just join money because they will withdraw. And then once these guys withdraw, there'll be queues everywhere. And then the government, because the people now will start shouting, oh, this one, the government will bring to pay them this money. And then it will continue. But if you explain to people, they will understand that we are fighting a certain cabal and we need to break them. And this, if they react, this is what is going to be out of their reaction. The queue, this one, well, these people, they are very hungry, they are greedy. They cannot even last up to, let's say, 1 month, and they will cave in. then things will come back to normal. But what are we saying here? You know, the government is just used to money doing everything.
Yeah.
Yes, Kachuku wanted to do it, but he didn't get the support.
All right, let's see. Danladi Pasali
1
is
month,
about
and they will give
to
in.
to
Then
join
things
us.
will come back to normal.
All right. Let's see if we can connect with Mr. Pasali, Alhaji Danladi Garba Pasali. Are you there, sir? Good afternoon. Hello? I think if you can hear me, you probably need to unmute so you can join this conversation. If you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to find at your far left, you're going to find, yeah, we can see you. Hello? We can see you, but we can't hear you, sir. I think you need to unmute. Join this I think you need to unmute, sir. Hello? Alhaji Pasali, if you can hear me, you need to hit the button at the far end of your phone or device to unmute so you can join the conversation. We can see you quite clearly, but we can't hear you. Okay, I guess he's trying to get around it. We hope that he can get around the device. It's the nature of things now, but I'm sure he should be able to get around the device. Hit the unmute button and you join the conversation. Okay, I guess if you are joining us, the program is House of Justice, and we are discussing the topic, the fuel hike, and the implications for Nigeria. As many of you would know now, the fuel price now is 161 naira for a liter, and we need to ensure that we have a country running. Yeah, and so we are holding that discussion this afternoon. And here in the studio with me is Mr. Joknom Bello Shamaki and Mr. Bomba Dauda. Alhaji Danladi Garba Pasali is trying to join the conversation. He is the National Secretary, Independent Petroleum Marketers of Nigeria. But we are going to just dial him right now. If you can hear us out, let's try to dial you on your number so you can join the conversation. We'll take a break, and when we return, it will still be House of Justice. Don't go away.
It's the House of Justice. It's the House of Justice.
Hello.
All right, thank you very much, Alhaji Danladi Garba Pasali, the National Secretary, Independent Petroleum Marketers of Nigeria, for joining us on the program House of Justice. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
All right. So we are discussing the issue of the fuel hike and the implications for Nigeria. You are the National Secretary of IPMAN, and Nigerians are very concerned that this fuel hike, and without the attendant rise in pay, and also the economy is going to be crunching. So what are you going to do
Yes.
about it?
Yeah, the truth is, I'm happy. I thank you for joining me. And the truth is that not only, even we, the marketers, were so concerned, because normally if there is any increment or any issue that crops up, they used to call the stakeholders, which are part of the stakeholders. In fact, we own 80% of the distribution channel in the country, and we uptake 80% of the product in the country. And if there is any issue of that nature, it's supposed to call us in the PPRA or PPMC so that we look at what are the issues. If the price hike in international market, because 80% of the product we consume, we imported it. And if there are issues, there are so many issues we can look into through the template. But single-handedly, they will sit down in their offices and start tampering with the template and increasing price without calling on the stakeholders is very unfortunate because to me, it is a sabotage.
Are you saying, sir, that Ipman was not aware of this hike in fuel price and that you're just as surprised as we Nigerians are?
Yeah, we're surprised because the only issue is that they circulated a circular to our Western depot. And our Western depot now call an emergency meeting and say, okay, if you have increased 151, then our members will now sell it at 161 or 162. So you see, the truth is that there should be consultation. There are other issues in the template that can be tampered with. For instance, the port charges, so many charges, obnoxious charges. We could have looked into those issues than all the time if there is an issue, you know, throw it to the marketers and then to Nigerians. It's very unfortunate that the government must do something. It is very, very unfortunate and it is not acceptable. Our members are not happy. We are not happy with the situation.
And Nigerians are not happy either.
Either Nigeria are not happy. We are part of the country. We are part of the system. In fact, some of us are part of the government, and we feel that if there are issues, if not because some people wanted to sabotage the system, they could have called a stakeholders meeting and let's know what are the issues. It's not just like somebody will sit in his office and start tampering with the template. It's very, very unfortunate. Government must call such people to order.
Okay, the downstream, midstream, upstream, where are we to trace the problem now? Where is the real problem that is affecting this price?
Yeah, you see, the problem is that for quite a long time I have been telling the media and I've been telling the government that, look, the best thing is that let's deregulate the system completely. Let the government remove their hand in business. Government has no business with business. Let me tell you, if you look at all our refineries for years, for over 25 years, they refuse to activate. The refinery refused to work because of the excessive corruption in the system, in the oil and gas sector. So the only option now is to allow private people to bring in their modular refinery to encourage private participation, whereby the government will only be regulating. But in a situation where people in the service are now saying that they are also part of they wanted to import, to do business, to do so many things. That's why we're having a lot of problems. If they have regulated the system, let me tell you, the price will even crash and come down because you encourage investors. Investors will come from all over the country. We give them the enable ground, and then the government should remove their hand. There will be a lot of competition. And at the end of the day, you find out that instead of even the price going up, the price will be coming down.
Recently, we found that there are a few private individuals who have been given license to go into this business. Dangote, for instance, is right in, and Bua seems to be moving in and signing documents and all of that. Does that give us any hope that this situation of constant fluctuation of the price of fuel is going to go away anytime soon?
Yeah, it's true. With if Dangote come on stream and even Bua and some other marketers, it will redirect the system because now we are spending a lot. We are losing a lot of capital pledge. All our money goes into importation, and that is why dollar is having issue here and there because importation of petroleum, one cargo is a big money. But if you encourage, apart from this big Dangote refinery, if we can have encouragement of people that have modular refineries, small refineries of 10,000, 20,000 barrels, scatter all over the country, it will reduce that capital flight, and the price of the product will crash.
Now, let's talk about the petroleum industry bill.
Yes.
It's probably 20 years old, and the bill has not been passed into law. What are the challenges that has delayed this bill from being passed into law?
You see, that are the question we always raised before the National Assembly. The truth is that if the bill is passed into law, because the bill it has given room for encouragement for investors for investment. because the question some of the investors used to ask is that, look, I cannot come in and invest my money, and even the getting of the crude will become an issue. And then somebody will sit down in his office and be directed on how much I will sell my product. We know that if party A is selling his product at a high price, party B will bring down his price, another party, that's the competition we're talking about. So by the time they pass this bill, all this excess of foul play and problem here and there, it'll open up the system, and then people will now have access to all the NNPC facilities and the pipeline facilities. And then with that, I'm assuring you that the price will crash.
All right, I think it's just a good
So,
time.
so in a nutshell, is that the petroleum industrial bill should be passed into law so that we can end all this problem in the oil sector.
So just before we draw the lines,
I know with the present economic situation in the world,
yes,
created by COVID, the government has no option than to deregulate the system, whether we like it or not, because there is no money for some few individuals to be manipulating the resources of this country in the name of bringing in petroleum products. The government must encourage private participation, must encourage investors to come in and invest in the oil sector, in the downstream sectors.
that's quite an insight. We throw the lines open. Mr. Pasali, if you would please stay with us. Let's take some questions and comments from Nigerians, and then we get back to you in a bit.
Okay,
If you are joining us, or if you have been following this conversation, the number to call is 070 46 23 1510. The number again, 070 46 23 1510 and 070 32 42 6904. The program is House of Justice, and we have been discussing the vexed issue of fuel hike and the implications for Nigeria. We take that call and we see how we go about it. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Hello. I think we kind of lost that caller. Please, you try again. The number again is 070 46 23 1510 and 070 32 42 6904. We are discussing the fuel hike and implications for Nigeria. Let's see. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome to House of Justice.
My name is Abubakar. I'm calling from Abuja.
Thank you for joining us, Abubakar from Abuja.
I have listened to your guests. They have spoken well.
Okay.
And the increment in the price of fuel is going to put a hike on the delivery of goods and services.
Okay.
And last time I checked, Nigeria is the 6th oil producing country in the world. And our refineries are not working. But then I agree with Mr. Fasali when he said private investors should be encouraged and modular refineries should be set up. If we were importing, just like the way Mr. Johnson said, if we are importing fuel because our refineries are not working, and the marketers will go and source for, will have to go and get the fuel, spend their money on it and do all that. And that's all because our refineries are not working. Now, some time back, I think some 4 years back, I watched a documentary on NTA. And on this documentary, I saw, it was on the Niger Delta, how some of these boys out there could to do, what's this word again? This word again? Break oil pipelines, the steel oil, and they go refine and do all that thing. Then on that documentary, I saw these boys refining crude oil with locally sourced material, drums. They put these drums on fire, they boil this oil, they refine with locally sourced material. And at the end of the documentary, the presenter said these boys who have been arrested, now the security agents went into the creek, scattered this local refinery they had and all that. At the end of the documentary, the presenter said the boys were going to be taken to court. Then they are found guilty, they will be jailed. And I wondered if with locally sourced materials, I am not encouraging what they did.
Yeah.
Oil, oh yeah, that's the word, oil bunkering. I am not encouraging oil bunkering, but I felt if these boys can go take crude oil, source local materials and refine this crude oil, why not rehabilitate these boys and give them the right equipment to work with?
Well, that's a, that's a thought. I'm afraid we need to let you go at this point in time so we can take more questions from others.
Okay then. Okay.
So thank you very much, Abubakar, for
All right,
calling, and thank you
yeah.
for your suggestions.
All right.
07046231510 and 07032426904 are the numbers to call on the program House of Justice as we discuss the issue of the increase in fuel price and what it means for Nigeria and Nigerians. 07046231510 and 07032426904. And I tell you what, I have the right guest in the studio. I have the National Secretary of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Alhaji Garba Danladi Pasali, who is joining this conversation and wants to address the issues. And I have Mr. Joknam Bello Shamaki in studio here with me, and public analyst Bomba Dauda, who are here to attend to the concerns. We hope that your calls can come true. But before we get any more calls, we get back to Alhaji Pasali. Alhaji, are you there with me, sir? Oh, we'll try to see if we can connect with him. But you have heard the issues of Bomba, the concern around the fact that perhaps with more independent people going in and the government handing off the petroleum industry will probably have more fuel and it's going to be probably less in price. Looking at the privatization of many of the sectors, has privatization worked well for Nigerians so far?
Yes. Let's just take, for instance, like the
Sorry, the
communication
MTN
sector.
number you're...
Yes.
The communication sector, it has worked efficiently.
Yeah.
It has lowered the cost of cost,
Yeah.
and accessibility.
Yeah.
And in economic terms, or in economic sense,
Yes.
one of the major benefits of privatization is that it brings efficiency and availability.
Yeah.
Now, going back to what Alhaji Pasali has just advocated to deregulate the oil sector, it makes real sense because he's talking about market forces. When you have a lot of companies to come on board selling the same kind of product, you allow market forces to come into play. But when the sector is being over deregulated, that's what the government is doing now, a limited participation of marketers. You have fewer marketers where there's not so much competition. Let's go back to the communication sector. When we had NITEL, the cost of making 1 minute call from Nigeria to US, it was very, very high. But when the sector was commercialized, no, it was privatized. You have a lot of players who came on board, which allow competition, and then market forces came into play. where you have the cost of making a minute call continuously going down. So I think it will really benefit the ordinary person on the street if government doesn't overregulate the sector. If deregulates the sector, allow more players to come into play, and then allow market forces to come into play. It will give the consumer much benefit than what we're having now.
All right, not a lot of time to do it, but as your parting words, Mr. Shamaki, what would you advise for the petroleum industry to do and for Nigerians to do in the interim, speaking of it, towards resolving this problem?
You see, there is nobody that would ever say no to deregulation. The regulation is the only way out, though. But you see, there are things that you have to put in place. It's just like you saying people should come and live in this area, and then you have not created the infrastructures that they will need to live in that area.
Yeah.
If you want to do the regulations,
Yeah.
there are things that has to be put in place.
Yeah.
You cannot just do the kind of the regulation you're saying we have done in this country, and then you expect investors to put in their money.
All right, just if you can just quickly save that thought, let's take Alhaji Pasali as he gives us his own sense of things. Alhaji Pasali, are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm there.
Thank you very much. So we are wrapping up the program, and Nigerians are really concerned about this situation. We want to be able to survive, and not just survive, we want to be able to thrive. And this is a real concern. So as your way of giving us hope and as your own way of providing solution to what can be done moving forward, what would be your words, sir?
Yeah, the truth is the PIP bill should be passed into law so that we can end this intensive issue once and for all. And the government must encourage investment in oil and gas, especially on the issue of modular refinery. Yeah, we have big refinery that is coming up by Dangote and Co. That we should encourage other private participation so that there shouldn't be any manipulation of the system. The NNPC can also join in and also become a marketer. Though already they have their market arrangement. They have the NNPC retail that are also participating. So my other solution is that the government should also force this multinational, the Shell, the Chevron, and everything. All these people should be encouraged to come and put off a refinery. Because most of them have refinery elsewhere. Why shouldn't they bring in refinery here in Nigeria? Because they have been extracting our oil for years. Why can the government also encourage them to come in with, even if it is modular refineries? So there is no way a country that produces excess crude that we don't even know where to take it to at the time, but we cannot refine it. And if we are refining it, we are creating jobs. There are so many byproducts of petroleum product. There are over 40 different components of petroleum product. We're only looking at the petrol, gas, and kerosene. But there are over 400 other components that can create jobs, that can stop all this unemployment crisis we're having. So once we are refining our product, that is the only solution. But in the short time, the government must warn the regulators like the PPRA and the NNPC. If there are any issue on ground, they should call the stakeholders so that we should look for a solution, not every day increasing petroleum product price.
All right, thank you very much for those suggestions, and that leaves us, I guess, more hopeful. Thank you very much, Alhaji Danladi Pasali, for joining us on House of Justice.
Thank you very much.
I am afraid that it is time to go, but to Nigerians who are following us up on this conversation, we must not give up hope. We must continue to engage with the system and ensure that we do all that we can to not just survive, but thrive. And so I'd like to thank you, Mr. Joknom, for joining me on House of Justice this afternoon. Thank you also, Mr. Dauda, for joining me on House of Justice this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And so on this note, we call it a day. I will be right back here on Thursday, same time, to engage with you on all the pressing issues. Please follow us and like our page, HOJ Radio TV on Facebook, HOJ Radio TV Twitter, and follow us up on www.houseofjusticeng.com/ the HOJ Radio TV. My name is Gloria Balasin, urging you to insist on the force of law and not the law of force. Bye for now.
It's the House
you
of
very much.
Justice.